do this.
Okay, so welcome, ladies. I'm just going to chat for a few minutes about one of our vital behaviors, personal development. And what I really want to talk about is why it's a vital behavior, because I have been coaching for almost 5 years. So it seems like forever. I've loved it. I can't even remember what life was like before being a coach, but it's been almost 5 years. And one of the things that caught me by surprise that I didn't know was part of my job was personal development. And so I signed up because I had been a personal trainer. I was a personal trainer at the time, just kind of, coaching people on my own, not working for a gym, but just working with people in their homes one-on-one and doing running health bets, mostly to keep myself accountable for weight loss, but just because it was a fun way to interact with friends and stuff like that. But I wasn't getting paid for that. I was just organizing them. And then a friend told me about Beachbody, and I was like, what's that? That sounds like exactly what I'm doing already, but I could get paid for it. So running challenge groups sounded like just my thing. And the one thing when I'd been running those health bets that kind of had been lacking, but had been super interesting to me, was learning how to help people change. So learning, about how to build habits and how to help people change so that they wouldn't just, go all in with a health bet for 4 weeks and lose weight and then gain it back again, and keep playing that yo-yo game. Because I wanted people to, to feel that, and I wanted it for myself too, because I had been up and down all the time. So I was really into that. And when I became a coach and found out, oh, that's really what coaches do, is they teach people how to make this a lifestyle. I was all in. That was what I was all about. So, so the very first thing that my coach did was give me this free book to listen to called The Slight Edge. And I, had never heard of it. I was just about to take a road trip to go drive 11 hours to go see my mom. So it was perfect. I listened to The Slight Edge the whole way there. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is like mind blowing, the whole compound effect idea. And right after that, then I listened to The Compound Effect on the way home from that road trip. And it just locked in that idea of the power of consistency, the power of showing up, the power of being in it for the long haul. And it was, it really was the best way to start off being a coach. So and it was around that time, I think when I first started, there were only 3 vital behaviors. Is that right? Do you remember that, Lauren and Maria? Yeah. And right around that time, they kind of said, oh, wait, we really meant there are 4 vital behaviors because personal development is so important. And is that right? Or was personal development one of the 3? Personal development was one of the,
one of the 3.
4th one was inviting, right?
Recognition. Yeah.
Oh, recognition. Right.
Yeah.
Right. But see, I feel like that goes hand in hand with personal development, because if you are if you have a growth mindset and you are in this to help people change their lives, then you're going to want to recognize them and shout that out and make sure that that's a part of, part of your business. So, so why is it a vital behavior? I like to think in terms of analogies. So feeding your mind is just as important as feeding your body. I'm on day 4 of the Ultimate Reset. And so it's locking in that whole idea of food as fuel for so many things in our lives. But we need also to feed our minds just like we feed our bodies. Because when we deplete our bodies of food, we get really hungry, right? And we get kind of, oh, I need some food quick, and we get hangry, we get upset. And it's the same way with me anyway, and maybe people have other experiences, but I'm pretty sure it's the same for everyone, is that you need to fuel your mind just like that. You need to keep feeding it positive things and good things, because my mind can get into this little negative vortex and just kind of spiral out of control. And before I know it, I'm a total failure. I'll never amount to anything, and never accomplish anything. And my whole life has been a waste. That's within a matter of hours. So just like we get hungry in our bodies, we need to feed our minds. So as I was going with this analogy, I realized, well, it also matters what we feed our minds, right? So if we think in terms of macros for food, so we can also talk about macros for our minds. And so I came up with a few categories. And if you guys have any other ideas that come to mind, please share them. And we can chat about them, but because there are different kinds of personal development books. I started reading Get Over Your Damn Self. We recommended reading that, but it was one I hadn't read yet. And as I'm reading through it, I was like, oh yeah, this is like a business development book. This is about how to have a business mindset. And there are other books that I can think of, and podcasts like that. The Entrepreneur Roller Coaster that Darren Hardy just, I think it was at the beginning of this year or sometime anyway. I had it sitting on my shelf for a while because he gave it out free when he first launched it. So I ordered it and hadn't looked at it, and I picked it up and was like, oh yeah, this is a business mindset book. This is really good for getting a business mindset. Angie Lee's podcast I love to listen to just for like practical tips and kind of how to get into approaching my Instagram account or my business that way. Any others that come to mind for you guys, you can unmute yourselves or put them in the chat. But I mean, those are some things that teach us how to make changes in our mindset and how to keep a CEO kind of mindset and learning business things.
But another one, sorry to interrupt you, is your virtual upline is really good because it not only is business, but it's kind of like our niche of type of business.
Right.
That he speaks
about. That's Bob Seilig, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think that one's a really good one in terms of business development.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. I think, and I know there are other podcasts out there. In fact, it might be fun to start a thread in the group to just say, share some of the things that have helped you with your business, share some of the things that have helped you in these other categories too. So personal growth was the other one that category that I thought about. So the other macro, if you will. And that would be things like learning about the Enneagram or any of the other personality types, personality tests. I'm really into the Enneagram, so I love that. I've, been into that for years. My sister's a life coach and business coach, and she first taught me about that probably more than 10 years ago. And so it was sort of a life-changing thing for me to realize what that personality type said about me, and that not everybody looked at the world the same way I did. So, so that was awesome. Brooke Castillo's podcasts have changed my life. I started listening to her shortly after I became a coach too. And, that's just the whole idea of how our brains work and how I can change myself personally, as and that also rolls over into my business, of course. So personal growth books like Fear is My Homeboy, you know, that one was awesome too. I read that earlier this year, and I feel like that just kind of teaches you how to approach anything that scares you, and whether that's business or personal relationships or anything in life. So those are great books, just kind of in that area. Laura put up here for business, the 10X rule, the 5-second rule, but I think that's also a personal growth thing too. Build to last, building a story brand, and a high performance habits. Yeah, that is an awesome one. You know,
I have a new podcast that I started to listen to, and it was solely because I listened to Shanti's latest podcast, and she's a business coach, but all into like the business coaching and in the Enneagrams type of thing. But her name is Amanda Bushi, and she is more like, she takes everything into the energy of it, and so she has her own quiz that you can take that gives you your entrepreneurial like, what is it? Yeah, type of thing. It was super cool. I took it yesterday, so like it said that I was like the teacher. So it's the way your entrepreneurial mind works. So it's really cool.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. And that's one thing also that I've learned. I was never ever an entrepreneur. I was not an entrepreneur. I was a teacher. And I mean, I got a master's in English, and then 20 years later decided I was fascinated with exercise in the human body and became a personal trainer. And so that was like a total switch. And then, you know, I just never wanted to be an entrepreneur. And but I've found that I've really enjoyed this, exploring this personality of mine, you know, that part of my personality. So that's been awesome. Shoot, what else? I would just, something came to mind when you were talking, but I'm sure it'll come back to me. One of the other kind of macros that I, and it kind of ties in with personal growth, is like learning how to help people change. So kind of understanding the human brain and how it works, and learning about habits. So like Atomic Habits, Tiny Habits, The Power of Habit, all of those kinds of books are just amazing for not only changing your own life, but helping you understand how you can help people change as well. So I think those are like must reads, and being able to understand that, because, you know, we all have people who come in and say, yeah, I'm all in, I want to change. And then they show up for 2 days and then they're gone. You never see them again. And, you know, understanding how to help people with those kinds of all or nothing mentalities, and how to make things simple, and you know, break it down for them. So goal setting, things like that. The compound effect, of course, is good for that, and it's good for, you know, applies to all of these things. And then the one other macro I thought of was leadership growth. So I hit diamond within about 5 months of becoming a coach. And then I stayed there for 3 years. And well, and I'm there again, but I hit 1 star, and then, yeah, so it's been that back and forth. Still working on that progress, but it took a real mind switch for me to be able to understand that I could be a leader of other coaches, and of my challengers. I mean, I understood right away that I could be a leader of my challengers, and that I needed to be, and that's what a coach was. But it took a lot for me to understand why I wanted to be a leader of other coaches, and why it was important for me to do that. So a lot of that, John Maxwell, you know, any and all of his books, of course, teach about leadership and how to be a leader. And I just look up John Maxwell. Any of those that we can list on. Any other things that you guys can think of in that area that have helped you?
Josh Coates' F Leadership.
Okay, right. I haven't read that one yet, so I need to read it. And then the other, I remembered what it was that I was going to say. Danielle Amos and Bob Proctor, those people are personal growth gurus, but they're also business development, because your vision plays into that so much, and just kind of the power of creating it with vision. And what's the one I'm reading? I'm listening to one right now, which Super Attractor, that's what it is. Yeah, Super Attractor is awesome. So that whole idea of just creating what's going to happen, what I want to happen, and visualizing that and bringing it into existence. So those are just some of the basics of personal development. Anyone have any other categories or any other like must things that about personal development you want to share?
Well, I could go on and on. One of the things that I found is important for me when I'm on this path now is that I'm always learning. And Maria will say I'm always into something. I have got, Marie Forleo's, I'm in her B school. I've got, I'm ready to jump in with Bob Healy completely. I'm always learning, but at the same time, I have been through a ton of stuff the last couple of years. More options, you just follow this year. Everybody laughs about 2020, but when you hear with all my, work in medical things, it's just hilarious. It's pretty funny. I have to make sure that I have to put a line between personal development and professional development or learning, and make sure that I'm doing equal parts of both, and not because I'll just get into the study and the lead part of thing, and I have to remember to step back and not put my spiritual side on hold. And that's, so I've actually, maybe I double it in a day. I'd probably go way further than that because I'm always learning. But that I can't, to me, there's two completely different categories, and I have to spend time on both.
Yeah. Well, and actually, spiritual development is probably another one, that we could count as a macro, and that's a good point. But I do think that really all of them are connected, and you do need to have a balance, which is why I kind of came up with the macro analogy, because you need to have all of them in your life to have a whole and complete mind. If you're going to fuel your mind, you need to feed it all of the things in varying degrees. Sometimes we need more vegetables than protein, right? So you think about less carbs, and what are the carbs in your the things you really want to do that maybe you don't need quite as much of. And so I think that's why it's a good analogy for me. At least it works in my brain. And I think the real important thing is that we don't get stuck in just reading and listening, and but that we take what we're reading and listening to and just applying it. I was talking with a potential coach the other day, and she's like, well, how long is the training, that I have to go through? And I said, well, really, realistically, you could probably get through all of the basic essentials within an hour, And then what we really encourage you to do is just to start by doing. There's hours and hours and hours of things that you can continually listen to as trainings, but you need to start to just jump in and start by doing and applying the things. So, a really good example is, when Micah started talking about the whole vision thing and writing out your vision statement and listening to it and recording it and listening to it, at the beginning of the year, or even like last December or something, I feel like is when November, December, she started talking about that. And I'm like, yeah, that's a great thing. And I, read the books and applied all those things. well, I didn't apply them. I read all the books and knew that it was, yes, this is awesome. I believe in it. And it wasn't until last month, well, July, that I finally wrote down all my vision statements and recorded them and have been listening to them in the ThinkUp app. And it has made a huge difference, you know, to just apply that. So it has been just incredible, the difference it's made. So you just got to jump in and start doing. And, you know, I've already revised them a few times, and that's okay. That's what we do, is we're like, okay, this one's not really working for me. I want to change it up a little bit. And, or I'm not dreaming big enough on this one, you know, I want to fix that. So that's what we do. You know, that's part of being a coach, is that we jump in, we apply what we're learning, and we learn from it, and we make changes and help other people learn how to make changes along the way. So Micah just did a great call yesterday. I don't know if you guys listened to it, Lauren and Maria. Just that short mindset reset one that she did for another coach. But I shared it with my team last night. We watched it, and I mean, it's really great for just learning how to adjust your mindset and adjust your personal development and the overwhelm that can come with all of that through the different seasons of your life. So I loved her idea of just, you know, figuring out your baseline. And, you know, she quoted Julie Voris as saying, this is this business is a coaching business wrapped up in a personal growth journey. And really that is what it's all about. That's why, you know, continually digging into personal development and figuring out what your baseline is, even on the most busiest days. What do I have to have to feed my mind each day? If that's 10 minutes, if that's 30 minutes, 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at night before you go to bed, wherever that works for you, it has to be there, or your mind won't get the nutrients it needs. So
I haven't listened to that one yet. That's on my list to do today. But one of the things she talked about in her podcast, oh my gosh, Amanda, I love
Holy crap. I am so sorry. I was like in 30.
I missed your face.
Oh my gosh.
that's okay.
Hi,
Just
friend.
seeing your face is good.
She talked about, though, like, you know, she listens to stuff all day long. And I do that a lot too. But one of the things she said in her podcast, because I think sometimes you can just kind of get in this mind frame where you're just listening and you're not really listening. But she said to listen for like the one nugget, the one golden nugget that you can take, which forces you to be a little bit more attentive. And so the last few days, I've been trying to do a better job with that. And I have this booklet that I talked about this in my planning meeting. I write down post ideas. And like just this morning, I listened to 3 podcasts from the time I got up and the time I got my kids off to school. And I wrote down 3 nuggets. And there were 3 things that I could literally make a post on today. And it was so helpful because it was something that I'm able to utilize and think through, and how am I going to apply that? And then how can I share that? So, and you know, you're just like Shireen said, you're just regurgitating. How can you take it, use it, apply it, and then share it out? So, you know, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And the more you share that, even though some of it may seem like because sometimes I'll be like, duh, Lauren, that was so in your face, right? It's not always in your face, because I'm like, man, that was, yeah, I could totally use that. And so I just think that that's always one thing I always think now, what's the one thing I can take, even if it's a book, like what am I listening to today for 15 minutes? Like, and like, before I used to just have it going in the car with the kids and stuff and hoping that it might seep into them. But now I've started to pause it so I can fully focus on them and talk to them. And then if we get into a lull, or we're in car line and we're in traffic from one school to the next, then I might play it again and be like, oh, I want you to listen to this. This one's really good that I've been listening to. I've kind of like kept a couple of them with my daughter because she's 15. She's in that. Some of it can be really good for them too. So just some extra nuggets that I thought was good to share.
Yeah, I agree. I did that too. And and I've been able to do my post based on those things that I've picked up. And it makes such a difference because you feel like, okay, I got something from this and this is amazing. So I don't know, like it gets you, but I've been doing the same thing. I've been listening to podcasts like just okay, here's the next one, and oh, today's Rachel Hollis. Oh, let me just continue to listen to something, because rather than have like nothing on the commute to take them to school and come back and then pick them up and come back, that's all I've been listening to, and it just keeps my mind in a much more positive state of mind versus letting the mean girl start talking to me and like and falling into that, because I felt myself falling into that trap like last week, the week before, and I was like, what is happening? And when I turned around and inward, and I was like, oh, Maria, you haven't been doing your personal development like you should. And you feel it as soon as you start feeling that shift in you and you're like, what is happening? You're like, oh, that's it. I haven't listened to personal development. So now I'm like, I want to infuse myself as much as possible, even if it's listening in the background, because your subconscious doesn't stop paying attention. You might consciously stop paying attention, but your subconscious doesn't. That's why I think I listen to my Think Up app all night long, and I just leave it and let it play, so that my subconscious is still listening to me telling myself all of these amazing visions that are happening. But know that you always look for that nugget to pick up. But if you're not, just know that you're still like soaking it in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I noticed in the so in July, I think we started using Marco Polo, the app, the video chat app, as our like secondary check-in. We have the bot app, and then we have the Marco Polo chat group going for the women in our group, and they have loved it. I mean, loved it. And they check in there way more than they ever did on Facebook or than they do in the bot app. And I keep reminding, be sure you check the bot group too. But if you don't want to type it in there, fine, come back here and chat. Anyway, I found that a lot of them and myself were spending a lot of time listening to the videos and catching up on everybody's videos and check-ins, and they weren't doing personal development. So, and I was sort of neglecting that too, and I could feel it. So I just have decided this week that it's my job to at least, I've been encouraging them, of course. We have a podcast of the day to listen to. I don't know how many of them listen to it, but I've decided, okay, I'm going to just share my personal development nuggets in the Marco Polo app. So at least when they go in there to listen to videos and listen to each other's check-ins, that they're getting some personal development in there too. So that's sort of the leadership mindset I got to have, instead of just like, oh, what's their ocean view today, or what are they picking out while they're shopping, or whatever,
Yeah, for sure. I think that PD is just like, if we want, especially as coaches, I think that if we want to see our people grow and we want to see everyone around us up level, we have to up level ourselves. And that's personally why I do PD, is that I know that if I am taking the steps to be better in every area of my life, it's not just like my mindset. It's not just being a mom. It's not just, a marriage podcast or even a business podcast. It's everything, right? It's all these little things. If I can up level in every area of my life, then I know that it's going to seep out to everyone around me. And I think that is so important as we go throughout our everyday. And I think that makes us more, I don't know the word I'm looking for. I think people trust us more because they see that in us. They hear the PD that we're doing, which is, I encourage my coaches, my people, like even in my challenge groups, I'm like, share a tidbit in your stories about what you're learning, what you heard today. I think, like Lauren said, that one little thing that you hear that really stuck out to you, share that, because what sticks to you, that's going to stick to someone else that's around you, and that's going to help change their life too. And I think that's so important because coaching is awesome and we love selling a challenge pack, but it's so much more than that, because people get to change every area of their lives. And it really starts with their mindset. It really starts with growing themselves in a way that they may have never even done before. People can work out and be till they're blue in the face and do keto and do all kinds of stuff. But if their mind's not right, if their spirit and their soul isn't right, then anything they do, like, you can be skinny and be unhappy. You can be overweight and feel amazing about yourself because you're taking care of your mind and your spirit. You know what I mean? So I just think it adds a level of credibility. That's the word I was looking for. To us as coaches too, when we focus on taking care of our mindset as well as our bodies.
I love that, Amanda. And I've actually been doing that a lot when people are like, tell me more about this, this, whatever you're inviting me to, however they say it. I'm interested. Tell me more. And I talk about that. I talk about how we have, the fitness and we have the nutrition, but I said, here's where I think this pulls us apart from everybody else, is we really focus on the mindset, because I've done all the programs under the sun and I've lost the weight and then I've gained it and then I've lost the weight and I've gained it. And it's not that I don't know what to do. It's that most of us lose the motivation, the whatever that is, that accountability piece, because most of the time you don't believe that it's going to truly work. You don't really believe it's going to stick. You don't really believe that you can do it. And you don't always have the confidence, because most women are in some sort of yo-yo, whatever. And this helps you not only with your health journey, but in life, like how to handle the hard stuff, how to handle. And I really hit upon that mindset piece because it's a game changer. And I remember when we started this and they started talking about personal development, I was like, yeah, I'm good. I don't really need it. And if anyone ever needed it, it was me, big time.
I was only a fiction reader before I became a coach. I would way rather read Harry Potter than, or something like that, than any other kind of book. It was like, do I have to? I know I should read that. And I mean, it's the opposite now. I have to force myself to read a book club book. It's like, oh my gosh, when am I going to fit that in between all my personal development? So things happen, you change. It's possible. All right, any other questions from you guys or comments?
I wanted to share something that I had. Go ahead and set that up, okay? Do you need our Wi-Fi password? Sorry, my nephew's over. The Wi-Fi password is in Rafi's room. They're coming to watch the baby while Rafi's PT comes over for a minute. I have been reading this Zig Ziglar book. It's called, yeah, she's sleeping. Anyway, I'm reading the Zig Ziglar book. I will take a picture and put it in our thread. But he talks about selling, he talks about sales. But really one of the things that he talks about that stuck out to me today that I hear, I've had a lot of my coaches message me about this, and they were like, I'm stuck sending invites. And I was like, well, tell me more, like what's going on with that? And one of my coaches was like, I go to sit down and do an invite, and she goes, all these thoughts rush in my head. And that's why, again, talking about the PD, I'm like, are you doing PD? Are you listening to personal development? And she was like, no. And I was like, go get Fear Is My Homeboy. Cause she was just like, well, what if they say no? Or what if, then I was like, or what if they think that it's a scam? Cause that's what I thought before. And I was like, do you think that what you're doing right now, since you've started your journey and you've been changing your life, all of it, do you think it's a scam? And she was like, no. And I said, the first thing you have to do is tackle this up here. But one of the things that Zig Ziglar said in the book today that stuck out to me, that I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to share this and the Zoom today, was that he said, even before you go, and he talks about prospecting, this book is old, right? This book is like from the 80s. And he talks about even before you try to sell anything to the prospect, which is before we do an invite, in your mind, have this positive idea of, okay, I'm going to invite Susie today. Susie is going to say, yes, she's interested. Susie's going to have all these awesome questions that she has to, that she wants to ask me. And she has all these awesome objections, and like play everything in your mind. What objections is she going to come, say to you? What, how are you going to respond to those? What questions is she going to have? How are you going to respond? And walk away like before you even send the invite going, I am going to change this woman's life. And to like just have that positive imprint in your head, because that changes the game. That changes your whole perception of doing the invites and doing everything. And you're more likely to get someone to join you or be interested, because in your mind, you're already like putting that out there into the universe. That makes sense? And so I've been doing that today. And like, literally, I was just like, I have something so amazing and incredible to offer. And when I did my invites today, I was like already, like, I just took a few minutes before, I envisioned the whole conversation. I envisioned them reading my message and being like, that is so cool that she reached out to me like this and invited me to do this with her because she's awesome. And that changed the whole momentum going into my invites. Instead of being like, okay, I have to go invite 8 coaches, or I have to go invite 3 people to my challenge group, I walked into it going, I am freaking inviting these people because they're awesome, and I want them to do this with me because I have something that's going to benefit them and they want to be a part of this. So just, think about that as you go into, your power hours and you're inviting and you're following up, is, change your mindset even before you step into it. Because if your mindset's not right, you're going to project that on everyone.
I want to jump in really, really quick with, I listened to Rob Dial's podcast on Monday, and the thing that got me was he was talking all about changing it from I have to, like, what are the things that you have to do, to what are the things that you get to do. Mm-hmm. And looking at it in a way that, oh my God, I get to help people get healthy. I get to stayed on my own journey. I get to exercise, because there's people that are waking up that are paralyzed or quadriplegic and cannot do that. And we get that blessing, that benefit of being able to exercise, being able to feed ourselves, be like, and it was just like, yes, all of the good things. Yes, yeah. I get to, and I was in a mindset on Monday morning of, oh my God, I have to take the kids to school. And we move, so it's a further drive. It's like 30 minutes there, 30 minutes back. And then as I'm listening to this, I'm seeing the beautiful sunrise, because they're in high school, so it's early. And I'm like, oh my God, I get to take them to school because that's what I get to see every morning.
Yep.
And it just totally flipped the like feeling of like, I have to do this into like, this is a blessing that I get to do. So do that the same with invites. Like, I get to invite people to join us and join me in this journey, and it's like the biggest blessing that I've had. Why wouldn't it bless their life?
Exactly.
I love that. So like, if anyone does the live power hours with Summer Tucker, she does this thing. I know, right, Maria? Like, she's like life. I love her so much. She does this thing where, and I created it for my team, but it's basically like you take a piece of paper and you like fold it into 4 quadrants. And you basically like write down at the top, you put down like before groups and after groups. So you have like 4 quadrants, and then before your team and then after your team. And then what you want to do is write down all the things of how you felt before your groups, before you ever got started in a challenge group, and like how you feel about yourself after a challenge group, and like all the things you felt about yourself before your team, and then how you feel about it after the team. And it's legit life-changing. And as you can see, my paper is very worn. I will add to it, like, because sometimes I'll be like, oh, I never even realized that I felt that way, like after I've listened to something, or oh my gosh, like that is so true, I didn't even realize how much that affected my life. Or I'll listen to another coach tell a story and I'm like, man, I was so blind to even see like I lived like that. You know what I mean? And it's just very eye-opening. And so to just, you know, some of it you can just like brain dump and write it down. And then if you're ever struggling, and even before your invites, I like to pull this out and kind of have this here, because I think this is how I was before and this is how I am after. And I want to share that with you, because if you could have a piece of this, like one or two of these things, I would want to give it to you, right? Like I wish I could bottle up all this after and give it to you in a bottle, but you have to join it to get it yourself. So that really helps me too. And I listened to Rob Dial's thing too. It was, oh my gosh. And actually Bob Healy just did something very similar about that. You know, you have to versus you get to. And it's just been like something that's been on my brain like so much. The other day, Jeff was like, how was your day? And I'm like, today was insane. I hardly got any of my business done. I'm literally running the kids from here to there. And he kind of like was just like, oh, you know, I'm sorry. And he's, you know, doing his thing. And then I'm like putting the dishes away and I'm like frustrated because I'm like making the lunches and I'm doing all the thing. And I'm like, you know what? I am so sorry. I was like, I never got to do any of that stuff before. I get to do that now. Like, thank you. Like, cause he's really carrying some of our financial burden, and I've been able to slowly build that up to help replace my income. And I looked at him, I'm like, thank you for believing in me, because I get to do this now. I get to live my dream now. So thank you. And that like totally changed my mindset, because I was literally mad, like frustrated, because I'm like, you guys leave your shiz everywhere. Like, just because I'm at home doesn't mean I get to pick it up and clean your underwear. And I'm like banging everything around, and just something in me clicked. Like, holy crap, Lauren. You know what I mean? Like, focus in on what you're blessed with. So, I don't know.
Yep.
All the feels.
Amen, sisters. So let's go get some power hours done if you haven't yet. So
That was what my reminder was just about.
Go girls. I might try
time.
to get on later. I did the 9 o'clock, but if anybody does anyone later, I might be able to jump on. Just let me know.
Okay, sounds good. I'm hopping on the
All
new.
right.
All right. Thanks.
Somebody get a group picture of us and put it on the stories.
I got it.
Okay. Say cheese.
You ready? Cheese. 1, 2, 3. Okay,
I put on some makeup today for y'all.
girl.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell my
Fine.
husband it's for him, but it's really for y'all.
I know.
All right. I love you guys.
Guys,
All right. Bye.
Bye.
bye.